winter has arrived all of a sudden. Such a beautiful day. Let's appreciate it. This is the beginning of November and the beginning of my third month here at Unity of Lawrence. And I'll just let you know that as I walked into this church, one of the first things that I did was I started to cleaning out the office, the minister's office. And I'll let you know that there were files and papers from ministers that go back all the way to Darlene Strickland, okay? Long time. It took me a long time to clean it all out. And I'll let you know the energy is moving in this church. I don't know if any of you have felt it, but there's a lot of change going on. It's clearing out, and the new is coming in. And so I just hope that you'll breathe with me as we move through some of the changes that we're experiencing at this time, and to know that everything is divine in how it's presenting, and that there's abundance here in this church, and we can celebrate that. One of the things that I have especially enjoyed that was in the office that I'm not letting go of were these old Unity books that I hold dear to my heart. When I started reading Unity literature in my mid-20s, I found words like conscious mind, subconscious mind, and superconscious mind. And at first, I didn't completely know what those words meant, so I had to learn the definitions. And then more importantly, I had to learn how those aspects of our mind work together. So that's what our talk is about today. It's called 3 Phases of Mind, and it's about defining those terms and learning how that's part of our process as we grow in our own spiritual maturity. So I want to dive right in. And let's go back. 3 phases of mind. The first one's conscious mind, superconscious mind, or subconscious mind, and then superconscious mind. That order is important because that's how they're connected. And the conscious mind, these are definitions actually from Charles Fillmore in The Revealing Word. He says that's the mind that makes one know of one's mental operations and states of consciousness. That phase of mind in which one is actively aware of one's thoughts, and the mind through which man establishes his identity. Now we can break that down even further, and we can note that there are functions of that conscious mind that we are aware of. So it's senses, we can see, hear, taste, smell. But it even goes deeper than that. It's about our intuition. There can be this deep inner knowing that comes from our conscious mind. It's also about thinking. I like this definition from Paul Hasselbeck, who was just here recently, his book, Heart-Centered Metaphysics. He says that we develop ideas into concepts or relational patterns of thought. We use our intellect to observe, record, arrange, and evaluate the input we receive. It goes even further than that. It's about our feelings. Do we feel sad, mad, glad, afraid? Those are the top 4 feelings that we experience, and yet there's a huge number of variations of those as we work with them together. And this slide may be a little bit controversial for many of you that have been in Unity for many years. You'll notice that on one side of the equation, I have thoughts and then feelings. That's really the basis of which Unity is founded, that we believe that we experience our thoughts first and then our feelings. Well, I'll have you know that some of the recent research from Daniel Goleman in emotional intelligence, he has shown that it can actually be the other way as well. You can actually experience feelings first and then thoughts. So just be open to that. There's even an idea that some people's brains work a little bit differently, and so some people might have more way of doing it than others. Just keep in mind, we can still pay attention to our thoughts, and we can still make a decision on focusing our mind on what we want to think. What's most amazing to me is this idea that the consciousness is only 10%. It's the tip of the iceberg of our brain and what we're aware of. Look at all that's underneath that. That's the subconscious mind. And that's the work that we have to do to move forward. So let's find out about the subconscious mind. We want to be able to, at some point, clear it out, but let's hear what it does first. It stores memories, it has past thoughts, and also has feelings. And I love this graphic, the picture of the guy trying to keep everything, back into the closet, like rummaging around in the closet to see what we've stored there. Now, it does the subconscious mind likes to think in images. It's certainly something that we can see. Every image is real. This may be one of the reasons that when I go to scary movies, I don't like to be there. I don't go to many scary movies anymore. I just can't separate from the fact that that's not real. It is always active, and an example of this would be when we're sleeping, it's our subconscious mind that hears the alarm to have us wake up. And it does communicate via emotion. There's more. It controls our body functions, our heartbeat, our breath, and breath can be both unconscious and conscious, but most of the time it's unconscious. It ensures our survival and maintains our well-being, and it even controls our habits. Many of you are familiar with the 21-day habit experiment that you can do, where you can create an activity that you're going to do for 21 days, and the idea then is that it will become a habit because it's created a groove in your subconscious mind that you'll continue to do that habit as you move forward in your life. Now, there's also memories that are stored in there, which include successes and failures and dangers. And I've even broken these up into 3 different areas so that you can think about them. Situational experiences. For instance, if you were a child who had an experience with a dog, you got bitten by a dog, you may then be a person as an adult that is scared of dogs and would not want to be around them. It could go the other way as well. Perhaps you were a child that was rescued by a dog, and then you were so captivated by that experience that maybe you became a vet and continue to care for animals. Again, it can go either way. There's also parent issues that we establish when we're young. I certainly hope that everybody in this group had a good experience with that. I know a lot of times people get messages, very common to hear the "I'm not enough" message, and that seems to be part of our culture. I really hope that you're a person, especially in Unity, that has heard that I'm fabulous, and that you took that within your subconscious and you live that today. Another huge issue right now that I'm particularly aware of is peer group memories, because my children are that age, 15 to 18, and my goodness, they're picking up all kinds of stuff from their peers. How they look, their intelligence level, their athleticism, their musicality. It's almost like anything about them is up for judgment by other people. And when you're at that age, you're always looking many times outside rather than inside. So it can be kind of a tough space to be. And we've all lived through that, right? Yes. So the next one is the superconscious mind. That, according to Charles Fillmore, is a state of consciousness based on true ideas, on an understanding and a realization of truth. So again, this is the God part of ourselves. The words are on the screen. I am, infinite mind, source, divine mind, light, God mind. So here's the most important piece of this. Question becomes how all 3 of these work together. Now, when I was in ministerial school, my mentor was Reverend Robert Brummett, who is actually going to be here close to Christmas time to speak. I just adore him. And he showed me the relationship between all 3 of these aspects of the mind and how they work together. Now, I've put them vertically on the screen with the superconscious mind at the bottom because I want to try to show an image of how it works. But think of this also. He said it's like an eyeball looking at the world, and the eyeball is our consciousness, like this, and then behind it is the subconscious mind, and then beside it over here is the superconscious mind. So that's kind of a horizontal perspective, but it gives us a clear vision with the image of the eyeball looking at the world that can hopefully help you remember when we talk about 3 phases of mind, what we're talking about. Now here the image is the words vertically up and down. And in a sense, it's kind of like this, because we have this imaginary line drawn between the different levels. And some of our work is to let those lines go. And so I want to explain actually how this works. See if you can follow along with this quote from, just follow along with this quote from Keep a True Lint from Charles Fillmore. He says, "The subconscious mind is a vast, silent realm that lies back of the conscious mind and between it and the superconscious mind. So it's basically in the middle. To one who does not understand its nature and its office, it is the great gulf fixed between this present state and the attainment of his highest desire, his good." So basically, we have to be able to go through the subconscious mind, folks. We have to be able to heal our flawed memories and bring the truth from the superconscious through. Do you hear how important that is? I'm going to repeat it again. This is the lesson that I hope you get from this today. We have to go through, here's the image again. We have to go through the subconscious mind to heal our flawed memories and bring the truth from the superconscious through. So we really want it to look like this. Okay, so we have that flow. Now, I'll give you an example from my own life and how I've seen this in effect. Yeah, I've mentioned before that I teach breath work, and I'm really hoping to have a free breath work experience sometime soon. I've heard many people that are interested. I'm just trying to figure out, might be better right after the holidays when everything settles down. But so I teach breath work, and it's about 70 minutes of listening to this chakra tune music that helps clear out things from your body, basically. It's a frequency thing that clears energy. And then we do mandala artwork, which is drawing with chalk on paper, which is actually accessing your subconscious mind. The material that came out of the breath work goes on paper. And then you have an opportunity to talk about it, whatever it is, to help integrate the material. Now, in my experience, it's quite common that people in this will say they have a hard time with the artwork thing. They're like, well, I don't do artwork. So here's my example. In the current moment, the conscious moment, the now is, it's time for artwork. And then the next piece is the subconscious mind has a memory of some time in life where their art wasn't any good. Maybe they were in kindergarten and they were told it wasn't good, or maybe they themselves made a judgment themselves because their artwork wasn't as good as somebody else's artwork. We don't know how it happens. It just happens. Okay? And notice that the solid line is between that and the truth, which says my creativity is divine. You know, I enjoy sharing my gifts with the world. So we still have another step to go. How do we continue in this process to reveal the truth that we need to know? So there are some tools that we can use to access the superconscious mind. I'm beginning with words because this is such an important part of the message that Charles and Myrtle Fillmore shared with the world. And that is, oftentimes when we blurt things out without thinking, that comes from the subconscious mind. So we have to pay attention to our words. And I gave an example on the screen that's actually about our health care. You know, somebody might be walking around saying, well, my back hurts all the time. So they're affirming that within their body. And hopefully they know enough about denials and affirmations that they can switch their language. That's kind of the first step. So you can say, I no longer complain about my body aches and pains. I'm making that stand. I'm deciding, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then eventually I want to replace that with an affirmation, which says, my back now completely supports me with ease and grace. And you have to say it, obviously, with confidence and an awareness that you really believe it. You have to be able to feel it and believe it as you say it. My back completely supports me with ease and grace. And if you're not familiar with affirmations and denials, I highly recommend a primer in Unity, which is Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady. And there are many of those books that are around the church. You might be able to find a copy to borrow if you'd like to. So I want to share a little bit about my own life journey through this process and how I continue to do this work. I put many different areas on the screen of what I've done. I mentioned in the 20s, I walked into a Unity church, and I was quickly involved in Unity teachings, but also in group therapy because I joined a 12-step group there. I worked those steps diligently for over a year, went to meetings every week, and it's interesting to note that, and I also did individual therapy. I started that around the same time as well. There's something about talking about what's going on that helps us process and get to the meat of what it is. Individual therapy is fabulous, and even group therapy, I think, as time is better, because we can identify when we see issues normally meet in circle, we can identify issues among other people, and sometimes they have issues that we have too. It's easier to see it in other people than it is to see it in ourselves. Okay, so that's a very important part of this. We can also do journaling, which is a stream of consciousness is the best. You basically get out pencil and paper and start writing anything that comes out of your mind, and you don't stop. And if you don't have anything to say, you say, I can't think of anything to say until something next comes. That's a powerful tool to access the subconscious mind. And then the next piece is body work, and there are all different varieties of this, but I'll share one of my experiences, which is in my 30s, I think is maybe the first time I actually had a massage. And I had like this little lump or bump in the back behind my left shoulder. And the masseuse was working on it and worked it out. And what I noticed after that is it was sore, but I also noticed that there was energy and emotion that had been stored in my body that had not been able to get out. And so that started coming out of my body, and at the same time, I had to do work in my mind around processing what came out. So there's a mind-body connection that we cannot separate. I do actually believe that some of our memories are stored in our muscles in our bodies, okay? And that may be kind of out there for some people. but I've had experience of that. So everybody's like, no, okay, good. We're on the same page. Okay. So the next piece is meditation, which is obviously the space that Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were focusing on. And what's so fabulous about this, you all, is realize the time that they were supporting the work of meditation, there was no modern day therapy or psychology work going on. That was like the 60s and 70s. And you know, in that time, there was a lot of stigma around it, and I'm even being told by people today that there's still a stigma around it, and I'm sharing with you, let's get over it. The healthiest people I know have done therapy, okay? The meditation part of this, they were supporting meditation because they understood this process that kind of like a glass of water with bubbles at the bottom, and the air bubbles rise to the top. When we start meditating, we do it on a steady basis. At first, it's wonderful and it's peaceful, but eventually the stuff out of the subconscious mind is going to start coming up, and you're going to have to start doing work around it. When that first started with me, I thought I was meditating wrong. So it's very important, it was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. It's very important that you have a coach or someone to talk with if you're in that meditation process to get some feedback on how it's going, someone that's actually done that work. I mentioned breath work before. The only thing I'll add to that is that the reason I got into this is that it was a very stressful point in my life, and I needed something that would work very quickly and effectively, and I'd heard about this from a friend. Also, it has an ability to access memories that go beyond the verbal. So if you have something from 0 to age 3, and some people believe in past life issues even, I've actually seen some work done around that. That's a little controversial, but this technique has an ability to access. It's like pre-verbal things that happened that you don't remember and can't talk about because it's before you had words, but you know you've had the experience. And so this is a way to work through it very quickly. And then the last one I have not tried, which is hypnosis. But I do know that many people have been successful at this. This makes me think of people that have been smokers and then used use hypnosis to change their habits around smoking. So I want to go back to so the subconscious mind, here we are, it's the bridge. That's what we're working on. This is the connection between the superconscious mind and the conscious mind is established within by meditation, by going into the silence, and by speaking the word. So back to my example. So somehow the person that had this experience then decides to do some kind of work and get in touch with what it was that made them decide that their artwork was not so great. And what happens is that that message gets erased, perhaps a new one is replaced, but more importantly, the truth comes through from the bottom and works its way up, and the next thing you know, they are showing their fabulous artwork to the world in every single way that they can. So in a sense, they know that has, that memory that they had in their subconscious mind has been changed and has been moved on. I know I'm getting a little bit lengthy here, but I'm going to keep going. Go through this quickly. This is brainwave frequency. This is the reason that meditation works. Again, the Fillmores didn't know this, but somehow they knew. This is the brain waves in consciousness, normal waking hours, it's beta, and that's 13 to 100 plus hertz. And if you go above 30 hertz or higher, it's known that we have anxiety or disease or feelings of separation or even that fight or flight response. And then the next level down, which is slowing the brain down, the slower we get, the deeper we're going, is alpha. And this is about introspection and focus and super learning. There's even a deep alpha state when we start to meditate, which is about peace and contentment. Then we go to theta, which is rapid eye movement and dreaming, REM. And then that's accessing creativity and memory and healing, integrative experience even, and even those aha moments that you may have had in your life, that may have come from something around the theta space. And then there's also delta, which is dreamless sleep. So what happens when we connect that to our 3 phases of mind? When we control our brainwave frequency, we can access these different aspects of the mind. The beta is conscious, alpha is subconscious, and theta is superconscious. And it is even, the theta level is one where like the Zen monks who have been meditating for years on end, they can actually get to this theta level easily and maybe even be able to retain it longer than most people. But there's actually technology that's available now that can help us to create that if we want to do that. And that's going to be part of our meditation today. I brought a a CD from Bill Harris, who's done a ton of work on this and even has a business called Centerpoint, and Holosync is the name of the brand. Some people here have already done this as well. Powerful stuff. And he's done so much research that he knows that this works. So we're going to have an opportunity to actually meditate to a theta level meditation. You'll get to experience it. There's also subliminal affirmations on this particular CD that I'm playing, and I'm just going to speak them so that we all hear what it is. And appropriately enough, my affirmations today are about change and how do we respond to change. So Bill Harris knows that his experience has been this, that he's seen the effects of this when people practice in this way. He says people engaged in serious meditation are more able to live without fear and judgment, without the need to manipulate others, without negative responses to life's ups and downs, and without desperate need for approval. In short, without the limitations of mental programming, especially that based on separation. So oftentimes when I give talks, I ask people to put their hands over their heart. You can even connect with some of those issues that he's talking about within yourself. Fear, judgment. Do you have that need to manipulate others? How about life's up and downs? Can you just be okay with that? How about the need for approval? And even that place of separation. When things seem separate, can you even be in a space of being and living unity? Or give it a try? So one final thing here that I needed to share and bring forward, I felt is very important in our world today, and that is projection. This is an aspect of the subconscious mind that I don't think everybody knows about. And I'm asking you to not only listen to this, but be able to share it with other people if they don't know what projection is. The reason I bring this forward is maybe personal. I'm seeing my children in a world of social media that is inundated with people pointing the finger at somebody else. And I just don't, and its magnitude, it's such a magnitude with social media. It's just too much, I think. So we need to be educating not only adults, but children as well, about what projection is. This is a theory in psychology in which the human ego defends itself against unconscious impulses or qualities by denying their existence in themselves while attributing them to others. So for instance, if I'm a person who is often rude, then I'm going to be pointing the finger and I'm going to be talking about all the people that are rude. When in reality, there are 3 pink fingers pointing back at me and I'm the one that's being rude, okay? So just to be aware of that and to be able to speak that, I think is very important. And once we become aware of this message, I also put up a little picture of a cute little girl or boy looking in the mirror. Oftentimes when we start doing this work, it's like the little girl or little boy within us that is looking in the mirror, and it can be hard to do. We are at our most vulnerable when we are doing this work. So just be gentle with yourself, be kind, and know that you can do this. This is the path, this is the way that we get to embrace our divinity, is by going through this. Again, this is the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the superconscious mind. We want to create that fluidity and have the energy flow. See if you can follow this as I read from Paul Hasselbeck's Heart-Centered Metaphysics. Now that I've explained this, see if you can follow along. From the conscious mind, the superconscious mind is accessed for guidance and direction. The error beliefs, thoughts, and feelings of the subconscious mind are cleared or transformed by investing time in prayer and the silence, a practice that accesses the superconscious mind and infuses the subconscious mind with divine ideas. So I felt the need to share this concept about unity with you today. This material has greatly influenced my ministry. There are a lot of people within Unity that are really into prosperity, and I love prosperity. But the work of my life has been to do this work. This is how I get there. I listen to those subjects of, the fear and manipulation, and it's like, I don't feel those in the way that I did when I was younger. I don't have the need to do that. I can just be in my own space and be myself, and even at times witness other people as they're going through whatever their issue is. Finally, the subconscious mind and accessing that does not always have to be the hard work. I had a student of mine in not ministerial school, but a student of mine 2 weeks ago at Unity Village who was talking about when she first started to do this work. And she said as a little girl, she used to laugh all the time. And people told her to stop laughing. And that's what she did. So when she began to do this work and cleared that message, she captured her laughter. So you all just be aware there's gold underneath some of the icky stuff we have to work through. There is gold there. So be committed, and I'll support you in any way that you need to do this work. I've done a lot of it, and I know it can be tough at times. Reverend Cherie, I think one of the things she had shared with me when she left is that people here are ready to go deeper. Well, the work that I do is deeper, okay? So be ready. And I hope you'll continue to come back and we'll work through this stuff together. Okay? Thank you.